Hello and welcome to the OpsBase weekly webinar. As you're probably aware, we had a new release go out this week, and part of that release was a major update to our reporting functionality. So that is what I'm going to take you through today, with a special focus on how to use the new reporting functionality to manage your issues better. There's lots of detail in the new reports, and therefore I've taken some static screenshots to hopefully be able to focus in on very specific features and make it easier to understand. But if you do have any questions, please type them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them at the end. So the first thing to mention is that the left-hand side menu navigation has changed. We've separated it out into two parts. The first part at the top is the logbook. This is where all of the reporting takes place. We've called it the logbook because it records everything that happens. And we've put it at the top because this is probably what you will use most frequently to come in and check the status of tasks and actions. The bottom section is all about managing your organization. And this is what you will use a lot when you're initially setting everything up, and then occasionally to make more configuration changes, such as adding a new op or amending an existing op, maybe adding a new member of staff too. Now, what we're looking at here is the issues log. And the reason for showing you this in full is because I'm going to start focusing in on individual sections of it. But just to explain, on the left-hand side, we've got report management. Across the top, we've got our filters and our criteria. And then at the bottom, we have all of the results that match that criteria. So diving into this, the first bit is managing the reports. Let's have a look at the pink bar that appears here, the Manage Reports section. This sidebar can expand and collapse when you click on it. And when you collapse it down, it will hide the saved reports, but will give you more space to display the results. Next, you have the ability to create a new report with this button. The report will be created based on the criteria that you've chosen, and the criteria will be displayed in a bar at the top. Then we have our default reports. For issues, we have a default of show me every issue that's ever been logged, and then one that you'll perhaps more commonly use, which is show me every issue that is not closed, so open issues. After your default reports, you'll have a little pink indicator which shows you which is the currently selected report. And if it's pink on the right hand side, this star, that means it's a favorited report. When you favorite a report, it will appear along the top so that even when the sidebar is closed, you can still very quickly access it. And because it's currently selected, the pink bar also appears here too. And then finally, we have the report management buttons. So a pencil to edit the report name, a bin to delete the report, a share button which allows other users of the system to access the same report as you, and a favorite button, which would be pink if it is favorited. If you change the selected report criteria, then you have a number of options available to you. You can see the save and the reset buttons here. If you choose to reset, then what it will do is it will clear the criteria changes that you've made and reset them to the same criteria as that save report already has. If you click save, you're basically updating your report criteria. So every time you come back to this save report, it will apply the new criteria to it. Sometimes if you've really changed the nature of the report with that, you might also want to click that pencil to edit the report name. And then finally, you actually might want to leave the existing report intact before you started making your changes, but you do like what you're seeing, that result set is important to you, in which case you have the option to save it as a new report. And if the report is appearing in the top bar as one of your favorites, the save and reset buttons will also appear there too. So now I want to talk to you about report criteria. A couple of options here. You can search, you can filter, or you can combine both together. If you want to search by keyword, you simply type in your keywords in the top bar, hit enter, and that filter will be applied, that keyword criteria will be applied. So you've searched within the within the data that's stored. Alternatively, or as well as, you can also apply filters. Filters are preset criteria, and as you can see, they're grouped in lots of different ways. So you can filter by particular sites. Because we're dealing with issues here, you can filter by locations within a particular site, status, and so on. Once you have all of your results as you want them, so the right criteria have been applied, you can then group them, which affects the display of the results. It's not changing the results that you've got, only how they're displayed on the screen. Up to 2 levels of grouping can be selected at any one time, and there are all of these different grouping options. If you were to first group by site and then by due status, what it would do is we'll get all of the results and group them into each individual site. And then within each group, within each site, it would list out all of the different due statuses and then all the results within each one of those. Other times you might care more about the due status, in which case you might want to switch groups. So the due status is the main criteria. So that would be grouped first, and then within there, each site would be listed. So you get to choose which order they are, and you can switch them around with the quick switch button. On the right hand side, you might remember seeing the 3 dots. When you mouse over that, a menu will pop out to the left, and I'm just going to quickly explain these buttons to you. The first one is collapse all. So if you do have your results grouped, and you don't have to, then the collapse all would collapse all of the groups to make it easier to see the bits that you want to see. The expand all button would expand all of the groups, so you've got every single result displayed, but if there are lots of results, you might have many pages to scroll through. This button will toggle your charts on and off. Sometimes a chart, a visual indicator, is very helpful. Other times it takes up room and you don't really need it. You can save the current report, export data and or reports, choose which columns get displayed in the results that are listed, and also reload your data. So if we have a little look at charts now, on the issues log, you get to choose between a donut and a bar chart. On the operations log, there are more options. And if you mouse over one of the segments, it will highlight, it will give you the label to tell you, okay, in this case, red means overdue. And it will also tell you how many results there are. So there is 1 overdue item out of 2 results, which represents 50%. If you were to click on it, it would actually apply that as an extra filter, an extra criteria. So it's very quickly possible to filter your results down more. And if you click it again, that filter will be undone, it will be removed. Now looking at the columns button, as you can see, there's lots of different columns that are available to be displayed. Not going to go through all of those now, and I will actually come back to this a little bit later, but just to give you an idea, this is what you have available to you on issues. And again, for ops, there'll be different options available because it's a different kind of data. So having looked at the saving and the criteria and also the display, there are a few more options available to you when you're looking at your results. Just quickly to mention here, you can see that we're grouping, so overdue and due soon. I've chosen some columns like the deadline date and when the issue was last updated. And I can use the arrows that are displayed to change the sort order within the groups. And I can also use the dots to drag and drop columns so I can have a look. I can reorder the columns so that they make sense to me. The most important data I might want on the left-hand side. The export button we mentioned briefly before has, when you put your mouse over it, 4 options will drop down. PDF is a very good option for printing or for sharing via email. It's very easy to read on screen or on paper. CSV, which stands for comma separated values, will open up very nicely in Excel, but lots of other systems will also allow that format to be imported into it if you want to mix OpsBase data with data you hold in other systems. JSON and XML are really normally used by developers and other systems as well. When you do choose to export a report, at the top of the screen, you'll see that a little indicator saying a job has been added to a queue. If you click on that button, it will show you the progress of that task. And at the end, when the processing is complete, you'll get a green indicator telling you that everything's done, and you can click to download your file. As well as downloading the file, you will also receive an email notification as well. So that's very easy to pick up from your email inbox. So having covered the new reporting functionality, let's have a look at how that can be applied to better issue management. And to start off with, the first thing to look at when you're opening up an issue for management in the web app is this new deadline date field. When you choose a deadline date, it will automatically calculate and give you an indicator of how far in the future that actually is based on today. And then coming back to the columns I mentioned before, for example, we now automatically calculate resolution time. So if you were looking at a report of closed issues, then the resolution time might be an interesting criteria. You might want to filter by issues that have a long resolution time, have a look at why they're taking a long time to close, and potentially even do a comparison between sites to see whether certain sites or teams are taking longer to close issues than others. Whereas if we take a different field, such as the updated, when the issue was last updated, or the deadline date, they would perhaps be more useful when you're looking at open issues, because then you can start to see when is this one due to be completed, or when was it last updated. Show me all of the issues which are perhaps stale, that have had no action on them for some time. Likewise, showing the last comment that was made could also be very useful. It means you can see the last comment in the list of results rather than having to click in to read it. So let's have a look at some of the options for each of those things. So when we look at due status, we can filter by everything that's overdue, due soon, not due yet, or not applicable if there was no deadline set. So perhaps you're going to have a report that just shows you everything that's overdue or due soon. If you want to look at closed issues and have a look at the time it took to resolve, we can obviously, depends on your KPIs, but you can have a look at ones that were closed quite quickly versus ones that were closed more than some time ago. Remember that when you're setting your filters, you can filter by more than one of these things as well, so you can group them together as well as applying other criteria as well. And then finally, the date range, which could be very useful for you. So you might want to just say, look, show me everything that's got a deadline this week. Hopefully all of that made sense without an actual live demo. Thank you very much for your time. And if you do have any questions, then please send an email to support@opsbase.com. Thank you.